Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 153 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng desperately dodged, yet he was still grazed by the massive body of the chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader. Just a graze. Luo Feng instantly felt the terrifying force surging through his entire body. His body had an energy reserve 1,000 times that of a perfect divine body, further enhanced by the indestructible heart, which drastically amplified his defensive capabilities. The secret treasure, indestructible heart, only increased power by a few times in terms of might. Some stronger half-chaotic origin secret treasures could achieve the same effect. But its greatest strength lay in the word, indestructible. This secret treasure fused the mysteries of life and destruction, making its life-preserving abilities incredibly formidable. Boom! Luo Feng was sent flying from just that slight touch. However, his body remained intact, completely unharmed. The charging chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader slightly turned its head, its eyes fixed tightly on Luo Feng. When it realized Luo Feng had actually withstood its graze, a flicker of excitement appeared in its gaze. Immediately after, its hoof struck out like lightning. Containing the power of thunder, the hoof stomped down at such close range that Luo Feng had no time to react and was directly struck. The chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader's hoof was simply too enormous, making Luo Feng appear pitifully small in comparison. Bang! The power of this stomp was more than 10 times fiercer than the previous graze. The terrifying force even made Luo Feng's heart tremble. His indestructible blood seed body could no longer withstand such an attack. His physical form was unsustainable. Under this stomp, Luo Feng had no choice but to let his body explode, transforming into an endless sea of blood. Only in this way could he dissipate as much of the horrifying force as possible. Even with the indestructible heart's enhancement, I still can't withstand the chaotic origin Wild Hoof's stomp. Luo Feng was shocked but not entirely unprepared. This species was called the chaotic origin Wild Hoof clan, precisely because their stomp was their most fearsome attack. With one of the most terrifying physical bodies of their level, the impact force of a chaotic origin Wild Hoof's stomp reached unimaginable heights. A late-stage God Emperor chaotic origin Wild Hoof could unleash a stomp powerful enough to reach the threshold of a perfect God Emperor Dao cultivator. If it were a perfect God Emperor chaotic origin Wild Hoof, the stomp would be even more terrifying. Luo Feng's indestructible blood seed body would be completely shattered, unable to maintain a physical form. Given Luo Feng's strength, along with the indestructible heart and palm world, he should have been able to survive an encounter with a perfect God Emperor level chaotic origin life form, even if he couldn't win. But unfortunately, he had encountered the chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader. You actually withstood one of my stomps? The chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader was slightly surprised. In Yulon City, only the 3 palace masters could face it head-on. Ordinary elders wouldn't even dare to take a direct hit and could only use various secret techniques to escape. Luo Feng, now an endless, surging sea of blood, had both the indestructible heart and the Qianqing heaven annihilation diagram, enhancing him, making his blood sea's defensive resilience incredibly strong. With the sheer size and toughness of my indestructible blood sea body, just one stomp cost me 2% of my energy reserves? Luo Feng was shocked. Hua! As Luo Feng reeled from the shock, he also launched his counterattack. A furry claw suddenly shot out from the blood sea without warning. The moment it appeared, it was already beneath the chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader's belly. Tear! Luo Feng unleashed his full understanding of life and destruction, executing the killer move of his innate secret treasure, Palm World. He didn't use world suppression, he knew that was impossible. Instead, he relied on the claw's tearing and destructive power. This claw was incomparably sharp, empowered by the strength of the indestructible blood seed body, and further enhanced by the secret patterns etched onto it. This was Luo Feng's strongest attack. He even believed that this strike might pose a significant threat to a half-chaotic origin expert. The claw extended from the blood sea too suddenly and too swiftly. The massive chaotic origin Wild Hoof leader had no time to dodge, or perhaps it simply didn't care to evade. Rip! Luo Feng felt his claw, Its 5 razor-sharp talons pierce into the pale white scales on the chaotic origin wild hoof leader's belly. According to corpse materials from the Nine Rivers sacred world, the scales of the Abyss wild hoof clan were typically layered in the hundreds. Sizzle. Despite Luofeng exerting his full strength, his strike only barely penetrated 2 layers of scales. Its scales have hundreds of layers, and I could only pierce 2 with my full strength. Only at this moment did Luofeng truly understand what it meant for a race of low-level chaotic origin life forms to be naturally born into the realm of chaotic origin beings, where their physical bodies ranked among the strongest. Suddenly struck by this claw, the chaotic origin wild hoof leader was somewhat surprised. The scales on its surface showed slight cracks. However, formless lightning flowed through, and the cracks in the scales quickly restored to their original state. Roar? The chaotic origin wild hoof leader suddenly let out a furious roar. This roar was like thunder booming, its sound surging in all directions, causing the endless blood sea to churn and tremble. Some areas on the surface of the blood sea were even shattered into nothingness. The roar also directly impacted Luofeng's spiritual will. Of course, since Luofeng's spiritual will had naturally break through to the perfect God Emperor level after reaching the early stage God Emperor realm in the Tao of life and death, though not yet at its absolute limit, he was still able to resist its influence with such a level of spiritual will, along with the support of Lai Yuan technique and the indestructible heart. Boom! 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 While roaring, the chaotic origin wild hoof leader launched a charge. Each of its hooves fiercely stomped on the endless blood sea. Though the power of these stomps was not as strong as the first full-force attack at the start, their continuous impact still held about 50 to 60% of that initial force, making up for it with relentless trampling. Rumble tilde tilde tilde, the entire space trembled and shattered. The chain sealing the Nine Rivers sacred world revealed their hidden imprints. Under the chaotic origin wild hoof leader's charge and continuous stomping, Luofeng's endless blood sea energy was rapidly depleting. In just a few breaths, 30% was consumed. Blood sea world. Suddenly, the entire blood sea erupted with might, a crimson haze enveloping the heavens and earth. At this moment, the distinction between sky and land blurred, and this blood-colored world was already evolving toward the form of Xianqing heaven. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader was trapped within Xianqing heaven, unable to see anything beyond it. Escape immediately. The moment Luofeng used part of the blood sea to transform into Xianqing heaven, trapping the chaotic origin wild hoof leader, he wasted no time in splitting into 3 clones. Each of the 3 clones used secret techniques, pushing their speed to the limit as they fled in different directions. Humph! The chaotic origin wild hoof leader let out a cold snort. Its body suddenly expanded to an immense size, nearly half the size of Xianqing heaven. On its massive head, 2 curved horns, sharp as blades, swung lightly. Rip! Everything was sliced apart by the 2 curved horns. Xianqing heaven, under this terrifying force, was also cut into pieces. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader's gaze pierced through space, locking onto the 3 escaping clones at a glance. Escape? The chaotic origin wild hoof leader was utterly enraged. Boom! In an instant, 3 immensely powerful bolts of lightning condensed in the sky, each targeting one of Luofeng's distant clones. Lightning struck down in a flash. 2 of the clones were unable to withstand it and were directly annihilated. Only 1 clone managed to endure the lightning and escaped even faster. Whoosh! That sole surviving clone suddenly took control of a flying boat, accelerating its escape. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader opened its mouth and spewed out a plasma of lightning. The lightning plasma ravaged in all directions, utterly eradicating the blood sea that had trapped it. This blood sea constituted roughly 1/10 of Luofeng's energy reserves. But under the chaotic origin wild hoof leader's all-out, unrestrained attack, it was completely wiped out. Under the lightning's wrath, the blood sea ceased to exist. Leave 1 weak clone behind. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader suddenly charged forward, swiftly pursuing the clone controlling the flying boat. Luofeng piloted the flying boat, fleeing at high speed. However, the chaotic origin wild hoof leader had locked onto his aura and pursued from afar. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader was incredibly fast, transforming into a streak of lightning, relentlessly chasing after him. In just over 10 breaths, it completely caught up. No escape. Luo Feng, steering the flying boat, watched the scene before him. Die? The chaotic origin wild hoof leader's hoof claw already loomed over him. It's over. Luo Feng looked at the scene helplessly. Back at the place where the battle between Luo Feng and the chaotic origin wild hoof leader had begun, the chaotic world gradually regained their calm, and the energy in the surroundings slowly settled. Suddenly, the boundless energy in the heavens and earth converged and transformed, taking the shape of a human male. It was Luo Feng. Luo Feng had entered the state of between life and death by relying on the secret treasure, the indestructible heart. The indestructible heart fused the mysteries of life and destruction, providing an extraordinary life-preserving ability. Generally, those proficient in the path of life, if struck into nothingness, could regenerate from the void and restore part of their life form. By using the indestructible heart, Luo Feng took advantage of being reduced to nothingness, simultaneously dispersing more of the blood sea into the void, merging his energy into the world. This allowed him to temporarily maintain this state. After some time, he could restore his physical form. Being able to maintain this state of neither life nor death was something Luo Feng referred to as between life and death. In this state, his energy had indeed turned into nothingness, with only his spiritual will merging with the world. This was the flaw. If an enemy was strong enough to detect Luo Feng's spiritual will, they would not be deceived. With the power of the indestructible heart, Luo Feng had perfectly concealed all traces of life, maintaining the state of neither life nor death for 10 breaths before reconstituting his body from the void. I finally tricked the chaotic origin wild hoof leader. Luo Feng immediately released the void nether eye ship, piloting it into a spatial rift, vanishing at an extreme speed. The speed of the void nether eye ship was far superior to the water drop flying boat piloted by his other clone. RIP. As the chaotic origin wild hoof leader's hoof claw completely crushed Luo Feng's clone, it gazed suspiciously at the water drop flying boat left behind. It nudged the boat gently, carefully inspecting its interior. The inside of the boat was empty, not a single treasure remained. Just a late-stage God Emperor flying boat, and nothing else? Not even the corpse of a low-level chaotic origin life form? At that moment, the chaotic origin wild hoof leader realized. He still escaped. These cultivators are too cunning. The elders it had encountered before couldn't withstand a few of its direct attacks. Yet, thanks to their various bizarre secret techniques for escape, some still managed to get away. Luo Feng controlled the void nether eye ship, not daring to relax in the slightest, exerting his full effort to maneuver the boat. The flying treasure ships in Yulon City were numerous, but Luo Feng chose the void nether eye ship precisely because the ship's secret patterns and mysteries followed a path similar to the Eye of Life and Death. The materials used to forge this ship were derived from several low-level chaotic origin life forms of the void lineage, making the boat exceptionally attuned to the void. With the ship's Mingtong, I can observe the composition of this world's void more clearly. Luo Feng navigated the flying ship with agility, threading through the void, leaving no trace that ordinary methods could detect. The one who forged this boat was an existence who had reached the half-chaotic origin level in both the paths of life and destruction, far surpassing Luo Feng's current realm. Even at full exertion, Luo Feng could only unleash 5 or 6/10 of the ship's potential. Whoosh! Luo Feng simultaneously observed his surroundings while pushing forward with all his strength. I've completely flown out of the Elder's hunting zone. Luo Feng still did not dare to lower his guard, fearing that the chaotic origin wild hoof leader might still be tracking him. He continued flying for a long time before finally relaxing once he had entirely exited the standard hunting region. Void nether eye ship conceals all fluctuations of aura. It's even better at suppressing life force than my own techniques. A smile appeared on Luo Feng's face. The chaotic origin wild hoof leader was simply too powerful. I had no chance of resisting. If it had seen through my feigned death technique, this clone of mine would have perished completely, and my indestructible heart and palm world would have been lost there as well. Luo Feng thought to himself. Losing those 2 treasures would have been a tremendous loss. Luo Feng had been too confident. His perfected indestructible blood sea physique was already considered a formidable secret technique at the elder level. Coupled with two secret treasures, Luo Feng believed he could escape from even an ordinary perfect god emperor level chaotic origin life form. That was why he dared to venture into the Elder's hunting zone for a trial. But who would have expected to encounter the chaotic origin wild hoof leader? The chaotic origin wild hoof leader isn't even the strongest among level chaotic origin life forms, Luo Feng pondered. In the Nine Rivers sacred world, there are even stronger level chaotic origin life forms, known as transcendent level. If I encountered a transcendent level, I fear I wouldn't even have a chance to resist one exchange, and I'd be finished. Materials from superlimit level chaotic origin life forms were typically transported from the darkness sacred world. After all, in the darkness sacred world, superlimit class beings were common. Strange, powerful, and even rare and unique varieties of level chaotic origin life forms were all placed there. They clashed with the strongest cultivators selected from countless worlds. In the Nine Rivers sacred world, even perfect god emperor level chaotic origin life forms were rare. As for superlimit class beings, they were mere legends. I thought I was cautious enough, but I was still careless, Luo Feng reflected. This time, upon returning to Yulon City, I must make full use of my spoils to improve my strength in all aspects. With that thought, Luo Feng willed his intent and released Di Qing. The moment Di Qing emerged and saw Luo Feng, he finally let out a breath of relief. Then he chuckled. Brother Luo Feng, I was truly worried just now, worried that you might have been killed by that chaotic origin wild hoof leader. Against the chaotic origin wild hoof leader, there was no way to fight, Luo Feng shook his head. The only option was to find a way to escape. I barely managed to survive using a special escape technique. But I still suffered heavy losses. His body now held only a little over 20% of its energy reserves. All other energy reserves had been depleted during the battle and escape. Being able to escape is already something to be proud of, Di Qing said. According to the intelligence records, only 3 palace masters have the strength to directly confront a perfect god emperor chaotic origin wild hoof leader. Any other elder who encounters it must flee for their life, and most wouldn't even be able to escape. Luo Feng nodded. His indestructible blood sea body was reinforced by the indestructible heart, and his energy was sufficiently vast. Yet, after exchanging just a few blows, he had less than 30% of his energy reserves left. You're right. Being able to escape is already quite good, Luo Feng said with a smile. Where are we now? Di Qing looked out at the vast world. We've already flown beyond the normal hunting grounds. It won't be long before we reach Yulon City, Luo Feng said. Di Qing's expression changed slightly. Brother Luo Feng, we were tracked when we left Yulon City last time. Back then, you dealt with the pursuers. Now that we're returning, the Guile workshop will likely have an ambush waiting. Luo Feng nodded. That Elder Qianhe had wanted to make an example of him. Now that his trackers had been eliminated, Qianhe's killing intent was surely even stronger. The closer we get to Yulon City, the more likely we are to be ambushed, Luo Feng said, nodding. If Elder Qianhe wants to establish his authority through me, he'll have to make his move outside the city. Inside the city, any action would have to be a secret assassination, leaving no trace behind. A direct battle? That could only happen outside the city, unless he was prepared to turn against the entire Elder Palace. The Elder Palace had 3 palace masters and over 300 elders, controlling the city's entire defensive formation. If they worked together, even a superlimit level chaotic origin life form would be doomed. The city's rules were the foundation of the massive wealth that the 3 palace masters and the elders continuously accumulated. They would never allow those rules to be broken. Brother Luo Feng, how do you plan to handle this? Di Qing looked at him. Then let's have a proper battle. Luo Feng grinned. If he wants to establish his authority through me, I might as well use him as a stepping stone. Earning resources wasn't limited to hunting alone. Once one's strength reached a certain level, like those at the elder level, their hunting frequency decreased significantly. Their primary method of accumulating resources was through various gains within the city. Once my strength is sufficient, the vast resources of Yulon City, even if I can't eat the meat, I can at least sip the soup. In the early stages of his growth, he naturally had to find ways to obtain resources. Right now, my strength is slightly below my peak. Luo Feng frowned slightly. His indestructible blood sea body grew stronger as its energy reserves increased, though there was a limit. The peak state was reached at 500 times the perfect divine body energy reserve. Any further accumulation would merely serve as extra storage, with no increase in explosive power. A 100 times perfect divine body energy reserve allowed him to unleash about 50% of his strength. A 200 times reserve allowed for nearly 80%. A 300 times reserve enabled him to exert 90%. Beyond that, the increments became smaller, with 500 times being the absolute peak, allowing him to unleash his full strength. Right now, I can exert 80% of my strength, Luo Feng thought. That should be enough to deal with Elder Qianhe. If necessary, I can even summon another clone from within Yulon City. Whenever he came to the Nine Rivers Sacred World from Origin Continent, he always brought sufficient energy reserves. As time passed, the rate at which his various clones absorbed energy also increased, approaching the absorption speed of a miniature universe. Not far outside Yulon City's eastern gate, a massive ghost shadow formation had already been set up, waiting patiently for Luo Feng to walk into the trap. Luo Feng and Di Qing went out hunting. They should be returning soon. The three clones of Wu Wei God Emperor spread out, using the formation diagram to extend the ghost shadow formation's coverage over a vast area. Elder Qianhe originally dispatched 4 raiding teams, each setting up a ghost shadow formation at the 4 city gates. Wu Wei God Emperor shook his head slightly. But after they heard that one of my clones was crushed to death, they investigated and found that Luo Feng might have an elder backing him. None of them wanted to block the gates anymore. Most members of the raiding teams were not Origin World experts, they had only one true body. They joined the Guile workshop for resources, not to die. Now that the conflict involved 2 elders, none of the 4 raiding teams were willing to take the risk. Elder Qianhe couldn't force them either. Even if the 3 palace masters themselves ordered it, the city's cultivators likely wouldn't comply when it came to suicide missions. In the end, Elder Qianhe had to hire 4 Origin World experts from the Guile workshop, having them deploy formations using their clones. Wu Wei God Emperor was one of them. Origin World experts would only send clones to set up formations. As long as the rewards were sufficient, they were willing to do so. Whoosh! The Ghost Shadow formation covered a vast area, positioned close to the eastern gate, sealing off the entire surrounding region. Anyone entering the eastern gate would inevitably step into this formation. For ordinary cultivators, the formation would not obstruct them. Since the formation had only been active for a few days, and hunting teams in Yulon City didn't return frequently, Wu Wei God Emperor had yet to encounter any returning hunting teams since setting it up. Wu Wei God Emperor suddenly looked into the distance. A battleship had entered the range of the Ghost Shadow formation. As the formation enveloped it, he instantly sensed 2 familiar life auras. Wu Wei, it's you again? Luo Feng flew out of the void nether-eye ship. Wu Wei God Emperor gazed at Luo Feng from afar. Luo Feng, let the elder protecting you show himself. An elder protecting me? Luo Feng was surprised. In an instant, he understood. The Guile workshop didn't believe that he and Di Qing could have reached the elder level so quickly. They assumed he had sought the aid of an elder. Luo Feng chuckled. There is no elder protecting me. Back then, I was the one who crushed you with a single claw. Wu Wei God Emperor froze. I won't kill you. Just send a message to Qianhe, tell him to come here, Luo Feng said. If he doesn't come, I'll enter the city. Wu Wei had set up this formation to stop him, which meant that this Origin World expert was likely prepared to die. He wouldn't be carrying any valuable treasures. Luo Feng had no interest in wasting effort dealing with Wu Wei. You want Elder Qianhe to come? Wu Wei stared at Luo Feng, then nodded. All right, Elder Qianhe will be here soon. Near the eastern city gate, inside a cave dwelling, Elder Qianhe resided there. He believed that if the elder behind Luo Feng cared about reputation, they would certainly return via the Eastern Gate. Elder Qianhe had been leisurely carving a sculpture when he suddenly received Wu Yue's transmission. Luo Feng is that elder? And he's asking me to come? Elder Qianhe was momentarily speechless, then slightly disappointed. I thought it was some renowned elder. Turns out it's just a newly promoted one. A new elder, having just stepped into this level, would have weak foundations. His long-awaited excitement for battle quickly dissipated. He crushed Wu Yue with one claw. Looks like he has a powerful secret treasure? How ridiculous. Just because he got a good treasure after becoming an elder, he thinks he can challenge me. Elder Qianhe stood up. Fine, I'll use 50% of my strength to end him. With one step, he left the cave. With another step, his figure blurred as he arrived at the city gate, gazing at the black-haired man in the ghost shadow formation. The black-haired man looked back at him from a distance. A newly promoted elder. This video will end here.